Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this week's Timeless podcast. We are here. We're finally out of January. Thank God for that. We all got past the worst month of the year categorically, and now we're in the second worst month of the year categorically. So basically the year gets better at March, but we're here to try and give you some lovely wisdom. I'm of course joined by John, Oshan, and Beef today. How are we, lads?
Good,
Are you not a
thanks.
fan of
Yeah.
are you not a fan of hearts and pancakes?
Uh,
Because February's all about the pancakes and it's all about the Valentine's Day.
I'm gonna let you into a secret. Number one, I've never celebrated Valentine's Day. Number two, I've never had a pancake day in my life. So
Oh,
yeah, so you go. My family just don't do it. Every store bought pancakes. I was like, absolute wank. I love a good pancake if it's homemade, but if you get it from a store and just eat it out, it's awful.
Fair enough.
It's like yeah. So I can't go near hot pans. So you can't pin this one on me to go make your own. I can't do it. It's just not doable. But yeah, if you do like pancakes and you have somehow got a partner and you're listening to this, then well done to you and enjoy this leap year. There's an extra day of it as well.
you have somehow got a partner, like the listeners, like any listeners of the Timeless podcast that have found love have done so against the odds.
Yeah, I mean, look at the odds.
If you somehow find a partner, it's like, hey nerds.
Yeah,
Some of you aren't single. Congratulations.
go on, Beauty and the Geek or something like
We don't know how.
Yeah, I certainly don't. Just look at Twitter. Anyway, we're here to talk about much Doctor Who news, but there isn't much apart from really sad news, which is a shame. So we'll stop the jokes for a second. Obviously, because we lost a member of the Doctor Who family this week, which is always gutting. Michael Jaston passed away. Of course, the Valeyards. Again, it's always gutting when you hear these stories, especially because they just seem to be becoming more apparent as we get older, which is naturally how time works. But it doesn't make it any less painful and all that sort of stuff. I unfortunately can't say that I have watched Trial of a Time Lord, so I don't know if you guys want to speak about anything.
It's very good. I also I've never met him myself, but I've heard anecdotally that he was rather the turn at conventions.
Which is always what you want, isn't it? You always want a character. You don't want to meet people when they just don't leave an impact, you know?
I've met him a couple of times, and at the bar, as one does, and yeah, yeah. He had a very unique sense of humor. He was very forthright and very open about things that he had done and things that people he had worked with, which I think is a byproduct of some of the actors of his age. And he was one of those character actors. He'd done a lot of theatre work, a lot of stage work, worked with a lot of great people. David Warner, had worked with Tom Baker and Nicholas and Alexandra prior to being in Who. He could have been a lot bigger, but he was just never much one about going for fame and accolades. So never really went to the States, but the time that I met him, it was met with good humor and fun, and I like that. So someone who's willing to get involved in sort of not taking any of this convention business or any of the things that we do of the weekend too seriously and joins in on the fun. So it's sad. He was friends to a lot of the actors who I think a lot of us who've met on the circuit, to be honest with him, they all liked him as well for his offstage personality. That's it. Always good with a good story. And there we go. Yes, it's a sad loss. Like I say, it was a great character who did stuff for Big Finish. There's plenty of output whereby if you've not partaken in Trial of a Time Lord, you'll probably happen across him in some other way, shape, or form.
I think I don't obviously I can't talk, but I don't know too much about him. But yeah, like I said, that's kind of the only news this week, which is really gutting. There's nothing positive to talk about. There's no new figures or no new anything.
There is.
What? What have I missed?
Russell T Davies is working on a big story, and he says he's really liking it, but he's trying to figure out how to end it.
like 45 minutes, and there was like a little Q&A at the end. And the only thing he told us was that someone asked him a question of like, even though you've been in the industry so long, you've written so many great things, do you still get like stressed or worried? Like, did you still find writing frustrating? He said that yes, he's in the middle of a story that he is enjoying at the moment. He really wants it to work, but he's trying to find his way around that at the moment. But that's the only thing we really got. But yeah.
Or maybe he'll
That was
do what
quite interesting.
maybe he'll do what he usually does and go to the end and work backwards.
I was going to say the news is that Rusty Davis still struggles with writing sometimes. Well,
yeah, basically that was it.
I'm
yeah.
shook.
That's the only thing we learned.
Guys, just so you know, Rusty Davis is still writing Doctor Who. He's not quit.
Yeah, doesn't everyone?
Yeah.
Someone also did ask him about the question about series 5 of Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yeah, I heard this. A mutual friend that was there, Roshan, has clued me in on that question.
Yes,
it was interesting because
yeah,
I felt that was an interesting question. He also gave an interesting answer.
Yeah, he did. He said something that was, I think it's been spoken about before, about his ideas for the finale and the big twist they were planning with one of the characters. But yeah, that's
I mean,
all.
we can say it now because you know.
Oh yeah, it's not
it's the Sky.
Is that Sky? It was
going to be like the
daughter of the trickster.
Yeah.
Which would have been quite interesting. But
Yeah,
that's
great.
the only thing we were really. So apparently they weren't even written yet, which is interesting
baffling.
to do with like the planning of how that that last series went, because what I thought had happened was that they had written all of them and then they had only filmed 3 and then they had to just
that's
finish
what I mean. I know they
they
definitely had ideas for them because they put them all in DWM at the time. I think all of like what the episodes were going to be. So and again, I don't know what the filming schedule was like. 'Cause obviously, it was segregated during that. It was like separated quite a bit during that time because of how Liz's health was. They weren't pumping out at a regular rate like they were in the previous years. So maybe they were just taking a longer time with it.
But it was cool to have a confirmation today, because I always thought it was just theories and rumors about it. But no, it's quite cool.
Yeah,
I know that you reused one of the ideas in Wizards vs. Aliens as well.
Yeah, like the 13th floor or something.
That was it. Yeah,
that one. And there was one where like Alexander Armstrong was actually going to be on set as a in-person
as
Mr. Smith.
Yeah,
that was a little too. That would have been great. But alas, that didn't happen. And alas, there's no spin-off announcement yet either. So we're gonna have to wait, guys. Be patient. It might happen. It might not. We don't know.
You have also skipped over the weekend's events, Alex, of the weekend just passed.
I thought you said that we can't talk about that.
Oh no, we can.
I thought you said what happens at the BFI stays at the BFI. I was
in generalization terms.
Was there any big announcements or anything fun or funky or cool?
Well, I can let John go if he's happy to, or I can run with this.
Well, Pete McTighe, and this is something that's been kind of misinterpreted by the media. So Pete McTighe kind of confirmed that they're going to be scaling back like the scope of the trailers. So that doesn't mean we're going to be getting less trailers, but what it does mean is that they might be going more for kind of clip show type things, rather than sort of fully produced trailers in the future. Because obviously, when you look at the seasons that are left, for example, you've got the 2 Pertwee seasons where remaining where both the Doctor and Companion are no longer with us. You've got, say, the 2 Baker scenes that are left where the Companion's no longer with us and Tom's not really in a position to be working on a trailer. So they're kind of I think they're going to be changing the focus of the trailers. The Graham Williams documentary was very good. I'm not going to say too much more about that because at the start of the screening, Chris Chapman did basically ask people not to say too much about it because he wants people to experience it themselves. And yeah, I can completely understand that. But yeah, when you get your box sets in, people make sure that's one of the first things you watch because it is very good.
Who was Graham?
The Fang Rock screen itself was very, very fun. The new sort of routing effects are good. Everybody cheered when Annette Wallet got slapped, even though she was in the audience. And Frank Skinner came on stage for a bit of a Q&A and ended up talking about luminous condoms in front of an audience that had kids and his own son.
The BFI. Graham Williams was basically a showrunner for a bit
Right. Okay.
in the Tom Baker.
Graham
era.
Williams was the showrunner from season 15 to season
Yeah.
17.
Without being spoilerific,
He took over from Hinchcliffe. He basically
worked through
much
some of the
more-
troubled times of the show.
Right.
Yeah, he was much more about kind of big ideas and concepts than say Hinchcliffe. So whereas Hinchcliffe would produce stories that very often were kind of based in other parts of media. So, you look at, say, season 13, for example, you've got a homage to Jekyll and Hyde, you've got a homage to the Mummy films, you've got a homage to Frankenstein, etc. Williams was much more about actually going, you know what, this is a sci-fi show with a blue box that can travel anywhere in time and space, and we're really going to go out there and do
Push the limits, yeah.
whatever we can within
Nice.
budget. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. But yeah, it's a very a really kind of a bit of a risk taker, really.
Yeah.
But also a producer that could be very hands-on, and particularly as he was dealing with a leading actor who at the time could be troublesome and problematic. He was very, very good at sort of taking Tom into hand and getting the best out of him, I guess.
My favourite is the Sunmakers because it's just an allegory for how he's annoyed at the taxman. It's great.
But it's a very good documentary, and it's told from the perspectives of the people who knew him and the people who worked with him. So the perspectives you get gives you a very good, an accurate reflection of what it is, and it's a very good story about sometimes how difficult the entertainment industry can be, and I think that's probably the most I can say about it, and you need to watch it for yourselves.
Yeah, and the without going into detail about the fragility of life. But all of his family were there, sort of watching the documentary, and they were all in the bar afterwards. So that was actually a really nice.
Oh,
it was actually really nice that it was pretty much a full, not entirely full, but pretty much a full audience at 9:30 on a Sunday morning.
Yeah,
When
and a
when-
lot of the
when-
contributors to the documentary were there themselves in person.
Yeah.
Nice.
When the trains were fucked, so it was a really nice tribute.
Yeah, of the documentaries I've watched, which is 2 of them, I've seen the Sarah Jane one and I've seen the J&T one. They're both very good.
I highly recommend the Terrence Dicks one that Frank Skinner hosts.
But they're all just like celebrations and then sad. I need to be in the right mood to be able to like deal with the sad implications of these.
No, the Terrence Dicks one's brilliant because obviously Frank Skinner's a massive Doctor Who fan, and he actually lived in the same street as Terrence Dicks.
Yeah,
But never actually got the bottle to like go and knock on his door and be like, Terrence, can we have a chat?
good old Terry.
I got the obligatory text-free postcard artwork of the box set.
nice.
The artwork is so good for that one as well. The artwork is so good.
It's one of my favourites. It's up there with season 9 for me.
I quite like 2, I like the blue and green vibes of season 2.
Marquez talked about how none of the original masters existed for Fang Rock, so how he took the original mono mix and changed it to 5.1. Chris Thompson, who did the extra special effects, he actually had the model of the Rutan that he made. It was a physical prop
I
that he
saw
actually
that.
had with him. We had like three of the remaining and out in the wilderness cast members on stage to talk through some of their memories of making it. So that was quite good as well. It's always nice to hear recollections of people from when they actually made the show.
I think that might be the only surviving three, apart from Tom.
Apart from Tom, yeah, I think it is.
Crazy that, isn't it? Well, I'm glad you guys had a good time. Obviously, I assume the bar was full of great quips that we cannot discuss.
Yeah. And I
that's-
picked up myself a copy of the most recent copy of Vorp, and my DVD copy of A Meeting on the Common that came with it.
Oh,
Excellent.
nice.
So,
very good.
obviously, since we last met as well, they have announced and gone on sale the tickets for the screening of the Celestial Toymaker.
Yeah. I'm going
As,
to
of,
be.
reco- as of recording tonight, still available.
Yes.
But probably not by the time.
Yeah, I'm going to be there, but I'm not going to be there. So I'll be popping into the bar, but I won't be there. I'll be there for the screening. But I'll come and say hello to. You can't not when you're in London and you know been at Comic-Con all day. What do you want to do? Go speak to more nerds. Nerd Central, the nerd capital.
Slightly inebriated nerds.
Yes. All right then. Are you guys ready? It's quiz time. It's triple threat.
Shit, I forgot about this.
You do this every week.
I keep
You
forgetting.
watch the episode
I
really
keep
early,
forgetting.
and it puts you at a massive disadvantage.
Shit.
Like this one, you had to have been. It does tell you at the start. How long is the gap in human time between Aliens of London and Boomtown?
6 months.
I was
John's
gonna
got
say-
it. John's got
Oh
it.
wait,
6
I
months.
thought we were... Oh shit.
John's got it
yeah.
6 months. Yeah, just 6 months. Well done, John. Goes on to. I think
But
that's
the
John's
one-
second point.
Literally the one thing that sunk in when I was watching it today, like, thank you for asking something from literally the first 10 seconds of the episode.
Yeah, that's all right. See, Arshan, this is why you got to watch it the day of because it's in the brain.
Yeah, isn't that like a meme at the moment about like just 6 months is like a time?
6 months.
People-
just
It's like
just
it's just people are just annoyed. It's always 6 months. It's never anything else.
Is that a meme? 6 months? Is
I don't know, I've seen it on Twitter, I
is
don't
that
know.
how
Well,
low 6 months is
Well,
going?
not really, because Muggins here went back and watched World War III and Aliens of London before I watched this
And it's awful.
to get context. And between her leaving at the end of Rose and her coming back at Aliens of
Well,
London
yeah.
is a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
During which time Mickey was called in for questioning by the police 5 times.
Anyway, synopsis. Ninth Doctor, joined by Rose Tyler, Jack Harkness, and Mickey Smith. 2 out of 4 ain't bad. Travel to Monday, Cardiff, meet up with Rose's boyfriend Mickey. They use Mickey's name twice there. They then discover the enemy, Margaret Sladine, is very much alive. And without an easy escape route from Earth, and is willing to rip apart the planet to ensure her freedom. They put down her Sladine name, and there's no way I'm fucking attempting that.
I thought that's what you were gonna ask. That's the question.
No. Like they genuinely put down her Celine name in the synopsis pre-built. I'm not doing that.
What, blonde?
No, it's all the full thing. I ain't doing it.
He's not going to try and say that with his wisdom teeth coming through.
No, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, right. So obviously, this one, it's the first Ninth Doctor episode on the show. It took us to the 5th year to get there. It's the first ever Ninth Doctor episode, which is good because if we'd done any more, we begin to run out. There's only 10 of the stories in the entirety of the history of the show. So we're already 10% there, which probably is the highest hit rate of any Doctor we've got so far. And just, in terms of old review podcast. In terms of old review podcast, maybe.
I don't know. How many Pertwees have we done? We only need to have done 3 Pertwees in order to get more than 10%.
4, I think. 5?
Yeah, exactly.
Mind of Evil, Terror of the Autons.
Collins, actually.
Silurians. Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
You only had to do 2 Collins to get more than 10%. We've done 2 Collins.
Bless Colin, man. But yeah, who wants to go first this week? I'm sorry, I don't. It hasn't really got an attachment to anyone. Normally, I throw it to either the person's got an attachment to it first or last. So who wants to jump in?
Can I go first?
No, that's why I asked.
This episode, very special episode because it's a Cardiff Bay episode.
Yeah, boy.
No, basically, when I was younger, bit of a backstory. When I was younger, and I used to have the DVDs of the Series 1 collection. This was an episode I'd watch the first 5 minutes when I was younger, and I was like, or like 10 minutes, and I was like, no, sure what, it's a no from me. But looking back at it now, I think it's a great episode. I think it's very fun. I think you've got it seems even though obviously it was the first season of the show back, and you can tell that they needed like a Doctor Light episode, you know, those sort of
The
episodes.
budget saver.
Budget saving episodes, and this was obviously one of them. But I think that what they do with it is really, really enjoyable. I love the dynamics between each character. I really enjoy the dynamic between Margaret and the Doctor.
Nice.
I think what they set up there is really cool. I guess what maybe lets this episode down is the whole Mickey and Rose thing. It's not bad per se. I don't think it's like it's what I do enjoy about Russell's characterizations is that there's never really a great character he writes. There's always a fault to a character that he writes about. And obviously
Mickey's flawless, mate. What are you talking about, Mickey?
And the whole dynamic between Mickey and Rose, they're both messing each other over, basically.
Yeah, one more than the other actually in this situation, but we'll get into that later on. I'll jump in second, just because obviously, why not? We're the new series kind of team on this, and they're more classic central, so why not? I'll go second. I really think this is all right. I think it's solid. I really enjoyed the first half. When it gets a bit more melodramatic in the second, I kind of like phase out a little bit. I kind of like the Cardiff vibes and the fun and the teleport stuff. And then when it gets into she's trying to like poison him at dinner and stuff, which is very funny. And then Cardiff Bay blows up with some really crappy CGI, and then there's a rift in the sky, and I'm like, all right, I'm a bit lost now.
The ending's very quick.
And then she's like, oh, it was all part of my plan all along. And I go, well, that's a lot of fucking coincidence to get to that point, but we'll go with it. No, it's really fun. All the characters are great. It's fine. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It's better than the Silurian two-parter early on in the series, because it actually gives the Selene character that isn't just we're government, stereotypes.
There's less farts as well.
There's less farts. Thank God for that. But no, I think it's solid. It reminds me how good actually 9, Jack and Rose are, and you're only getting for 3 stories. Technically 2, if you count Dr. Dancer as sort of like an introductory one, and it's not really like them traveling in the TARDIS. There's only like the one of 2 adventures, which is wild when you think about it. But I think it's fine. I think it's fun. It's fun. And sometimes Doctor Who just needs to be fun. Who wants to go next? No one?
Up to you, go for it, John. Go on.
Okay. I really like this one. I think, first thing to say is Annette Badland is absolutely fantastic. She completely bosses this as Margaret Slevine. She does a really good job. I think the chemistry between her and Eccleston's top notch. I think this is one that's a lot deeper than people give it credit for. It does actually look at the morality of the Doctor to a degree, and how he's going to deal with this situation where if he returns Margaret to Raxacalipher she's going to be executed, and so the dilemma that he faces in terms of that. The Rose and Mickey stuff is interesting. Let's face it, they're both assholes to each other, and this makes it quite clear, and it's another example where Russell kind of hits home to us the impact on the people left behind when somebody goes traveling with the Doctor. That's really well done, and just thoroughly enjoyable for me.
Beef.
In this episode it tries to do a hell of a lot. It does. Yeah, I'm trying to work, and that's the thing. While it tries to do a hell of a lot, I'd rather it just be one central thing and it do one central thing and really pushing it. And like John says, yeah, you've got the idea of the Doctor and his morality and how he affects the people around it. I think it also, like you're saying, it's trying to get the idea of, like, with Donna, can you ever go home again? Because, like I say, I watched the other two Slitheen episodes, and I don't know. I'm sort of like on Mickey's side on this one, to be honest with you.
Me too. A little bit.
Rose comes
Me
across
too.
as a bit of a bitch on this one, to be
Oh
honest.
yeah.
And when the guy's been left there for a year, been like questioned, like John says, 5 times for her disappearance, she still jogs on quite happily. Then comes back and he says, he is trying to move on for his life, but she shows up and he's still like, drops everything and goes all the way to Cardiff.
Yeah.
Because he wants to try and salvage something out of it, and he knows that he's always going to feel second best. So I actually feel quite sad for him. His character actually develops because he starts giving it to Captain Jack and starts giving it back to the Doctor. I think that's a nice development for his character. Captain Jack, I can take or leave in this episode, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I put a note down. I'm sure John and Beef will get my reference. He kind of gets nissered in this episode. Like, he sort of just gets left at the TARDIS for the second half.
I was going to say K9s, but yeah, that's it. Yeah.
just stay at the TARDIS, mate. Look after this little prop we made. The only budget we did for props in this episode really was, there you go, look after this little surfboard thing. Should we jump in with the Mickey stuff, because you sort of opened that conversation?
Well, no, let me just say as well. Yeah, like John says, I think there's an interesting dynamic between Margaret Slitheen and the Doctor, because like when they walk into the restaurant, they're holding hands and everything like that. It is a sort of flirting, and how she says, do you know what I mean? It would take a killer or someone who's done these things to recognize or see it in the way you've had. So you do have that perspective. And there is some really, really good, like, acting from Annette Badland that goes without words. There's a bit where it just holds on her face, and as she talks, you can see her eyes completely water up, and that is just like amazing. The sewing up is a bit hokum and everything like that, to be honest with you. But
the bit, like, for example, the bit where she decides not to kill the journalist because she discovers that she's pregnant. It's like, that's quite, that's very well done.
It's incredibly well done. Again, I have a slight issue with this in terms of whatever, and I guess you guys can debug me. The scene's brilliant, but like, I don't really buy why this particular person is the one that, because she's happy killing everyone 10 seconds ago. She was one woman's pregnant. She's like, actually, I'm going to go cry in the bathroom for a bit, actually.
I think it's more to do with the family, and she's lost her family, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose. Well, not by the end of it. She gets a new one.
It's also that thing of, she can happily kill thousands of people. She can't put faces to them.
Yeah. Well, she shouldn't have taken her to the bathroom.
Once she actually knows somebody's situation, very different.
This is.
Well, I just think it's like that. She, it's at that point that she realizes as well she's the only one left.
Yeah.
So that does make a difference, and like I say, the idea as well is that you can never. That the family or her brothers and everything like that. That family was her lifeboat, and now they're gone. you can't go home again in the same way as like I said, you've got the situation with Rose that you can't go home again. So it's sort of like she has to find some way to go on.
Yeah, my only issue with that then is later on when she like pretends that she's changed and she uses that as an example, and it's like, actually, I was pulling the rug the whole time. It's a bit like, okay, well, it kind of makes the intention of it, I think, a little bit muddled. Although the scene itself is really good. Annette Badland is very good in it as well, because it's all obviously voice recorded when she's asleep and stuff, and that's really good how it comes across. I especially like the editing as well, that her Slovene voice sort of drops, so she unzips and speaks kind of in a Slovene tone, and if it's more emotional, it kind of just becomes regular Annette Badland. Although she wants to blow up Cardiff Castle, and you can't do that, Annette. We've got more episodes to film in there. It's only 2005. We won't have many.
She doesn't. She wants to demolish it and put a nuclear power plant on it. But
My only thing is, she wants to do that, and no one's questioned going, why? Why are we getting rid of Cardiff Castle?
To build a nuclear power station. And to be honest with you, let's just do it with all Wales.
Apart from Gwen's father in Torchwood, I think. The guy that comes in, I think he's Gwen's dad in
Yes,
Torchwood.
he is. Yeah, you're right.
It's like, we can't blow it up. By the way, as well, speaking of Torchwood, would Captain Jack technically be in Cardiff twice here? Because in theory, like, isn't he just like hanging out downstairs with Pterodactyl at the minute and just?
He's in a morgue, isn't he?
Would he be in a morgue? Would he been recovered by 05?
Because at the end of Torture season 2, isn't he like in a morgue?
No, but this is before season 1, man.
Oh,
this is.
Oh, is there 3 of them?
No. But I'm saying that, like, technically, this predates the events of season 1, which is.
When's he buried in a field?
Yeah. Because obviously, is he not operating Torchwood by 2005? Is he not operating Torchwood by 2005?
Oh, I don't know.
Like, sure, that's what I'm saying. Is there?
Well, probably not, because Torchwood.
Oh yeah,
Torchwood. Probably not, because Torchwood is based in Canary Wharf in 2006.
There's different hubs, though, isn't there?
You know, so
it's different
my
hubs.
interpretation of it is that, you know, the Cardiff became the main hub after the wharf blew up.
Oh, okay. I thought there was just different hubs the whole time. I just thought there was different hubs, because they're like Torchwood Hub 1, and then isn't the I thought there was different hubs, because I don't know. Who knows? He might be running down that. He might be having a wank down underneath Cardiff. We don't fucking know. We don't know. We don't know. But yeah, let's talk about Mickey and Rose. So I guess that is another central point of the story. Yeah, it's the part of the episode that I don't like the most, because they're trying to write it as a 50-50, and it's kind of not. It's more like 80-20, if you like. The only thing that's a bit dodgy is that Mickey pops up, wants to get a hotel with a woman, displays with a new one. That's the only part of it that I'm like steady on, mate. The rest of it is a bit like you are
he does say, like, if that's what you want to do, he's trying to do whatever he can to try and salvage that relationship.
Yeah. I don't think this is written as a 50-50. I think we're meant to have sympathy with Mickey, and Rose is sort of very clearly portrayed as the arsehole here.
My only issue with this is, like, no, it's not an issue actually, but like at the end they set him up like he's going to come back as some sort of villain, but in like parting the ways, he just comes back and he's all good again.
He's just happy. He's because he's probably, you know. I feel bad for Tristan O'Leary, man. She gets too much slander within this.
But it's all part of Mickey's character arc, isn't it? So, you know, this is all leading up to.
Yeah, because it's that line in Parting the Ways.
This is all leading up to the end of the Cyberman 2-parter, where he finally gets the bollocks to turn around and go Rose and go, "No, you don't leave me." So
I'm good, Chief. Yeah. I think it's all right. I think, bless him. I like what you said, Beef. Actually, you're right with it. Yeah, he does begin to have this arc where he's standing up to characters now and beginning to, you know, get the balls to be like, John, I ain't coming up for this, you know. But even then, I like the fact they involve him in the hijinks in the first act. I think that's really great.
Oh, it's so funny.
The only time I think, Mickey, you're an idiot is when the world is crumbling. And he still wants to continue, he still wants to continue his relationship conversation. He's like, where are you running to, Rose? I'm like, Mickey, there's actually a hole in the ground and the sky is bright as fuck. This is not the time, mate. Let's put the relationship on pause.
You always go to the doctor, it's never me. And it's like, there's a fucking lightning going out.
Yeah, but he does sort of like turn around and she's already booked and sort of like just ditched him. Do you know what I mean?
Well, like, yes, you should have taken him with her. That's probably what should have happened. But at the end of the day, no matter how important the conversation I'm having is, if the doctor's around and there's like a light in the sky, I'm penning that way. Yeah, no, I think it's well acted. I do find it funny that it's ironic because they obviously went at the time, but they do have a massive argument in front of Yanto's shrine, and that's not funny at all.
Yeah.
But it's just rather funny to me as well. They're besmirching the name of Yanto right in front of it. No, I think it's a fine part of the episode. They say yeah, they do kind of tease a few things in here. Like Rose at the end goes, "Oh, she's going to get a restart. Oh, I'd quite like that." That goes nowhere, really. Because they're like, "Oh, is she? What restart? Don't get one." Just keeps going.
Oh yeah, and that's where you first start to get the bad wolf set up as well. That's where it starts to he notices the name of the
Oh, that's done
hourglass.
so well.
Go on,
It's done
Oshan.
so
Go on.
well.
Go on. How do you say it? You
Oh,
know.
Blythe Droog.
Yeah. Well, you can speak Welsh. Why did you say it dramatically? You could just
So
said it in.
that's how they say it in the episode. Blythe
Is,
Droog.
is that a direct translation or is it actually Wolf Bad in?
No, yeah, no, it is. It is
Oh,
Blythe
okay.
Droog.
Because I know that you
Bad
Welsh
Wolf,
people.
sorry.
I know that you Welsh people sometimes flip the order of things just to be awkward. But yeah, I like the fact as well that obviously because the next episode is
Actually,
the big
no, it
one,
is bad. It is Wolf Bad. I've just thought about what you said. Yeah, it is Wolf Bad. It is Wolf Bad. You're all right.
But I was thinking, obviously, like Beef said, it's one of those episodes where because we're not concerned about the overall arc here, he's like, yeah, come back next week. I don't care now. Just continue our low budget adventure. Another thing that made me laugh in this is obviously the iconic "I was having such a nice day" bit is hilarious. However, the poor man that gets his newspaper taken doesn't react at all. He just like, I've lost it again. Not that I would start a fight with 2005 Christopher Eccleston or any Christopher Eccleston,
I
but
think
in Wales, if you stole
favourite-
someone's paper, you would get some backlash. You wouldn't just it wouldn't just be like, oh.
My favorite moment of this entire episode is when the doctor goes to her room and her assistant's there, and he says, "Just go in there and say the doctor," and then she's like climbing out the back window, isn't she? That whole segment in itself is brilliant, and like the whole teleportation and everything like that. I think
Teleportation.
the comedy's done really well.
Oh yeah, and the music is really fun. The music's fun.
Music's fun.
Great fun. I love it. Love it all. One thing I did really appreciate as well is you do actually Mickey getting on with them for a brief scene in that cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah, is actually getting on with them briefly, and then it all goes to crap. I mean, again, another thing which I find really funny is that you're the mayor of Cardiff, and you don't want photos taken of you. Realistically, I get you've got to get to point A to point B, but realistically, that's like me going, I want to be a major celebrity. I want to be in a major movie, but no photos. It's like, well, it's a bit. I did find that one, like, obviously they would have had to put her into power somehow. Like, she would have to been voted or something. So someone's going to know what she looks like.
Something else I did enjoy out of this, and I think it's more to do with the production of the first season, or like just kind of, it's the first season of the new series, is the history, like not the history lesson, but the whole, you learn more about the show with the whole police box and why it's why the TARDIS is a police box. I think that whole
if that happened today, I was watching. I was like, would people complain? I think they would. I don't think people would complain about today. Is the quick line between Eccleston and Jack where he goes, "Oh, you're so difficult." And he goes, "Buy me a drink." Like if that happened today, Twitter, or a bad part of Twitter, should I say, mental. They'd be going, "What is this? It was there all along, guys. Deal with it. Grow up." Yeah, poor Jack, actually. And obviously, we're not a massive fan of the person behind the character, but in terms of a character in this, considering he's only in 3 stories with him, sort of just gets sidelined.
I do like, though, something I do enjoy is him and the Doctor's chemistry, like that whole stuff with gadgets, and it's kind of the world building.
We don't get enough of this team. We just don't. Just factually, we just don't get enough. It's a shame about him only being there for 1 series.
I mean, it's worth bearing in mind, though, that given that this is very much a character piece with not a lot of action going on, it's probably quite understandable why Barrowman would be sidelined and would not have too much screen time with Eccleston.
Oh no, I get it.
We all know that their approaches to making the TV show were very different and clashed to a degree.
Yeah, it's just a shame that with the on-screen stuff, obviously you only get 13 episodes, we only have one series of Eccleston, and they probably wouldn't have been put together for the second season anyway. It's just a shame that you only really get 5 episodes, 3 stories with them, because they do work really well as a dynamic. You don't really ever get that dynamic, because even in Bad Wolf, they're split up.
Yeah.
So that you don't actually really get the dynamic.
But
I
you
know
can-
obviously the
you can-
off-screen dynamic wasn't
You
great.
can understand. You can understand why they do it.
Yeah, it's just
You know,
a bit gutting.
the chemistry between the two of them clearly is a bit toxic. So
I think that's why I love the first 20 minutes is because they're all together. It's when we get to the really melodramatic stuff, which doesn't really land for me fully. That you just kind of have the fun. You have them with the weird teleport. You know, they're all going over the laugh, and then you get to the dinner scene, which is fun in essence, but also
Well, I think you get an idea that there has been a certain amount of time that has transpired between the Doctor dances and this episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think you have Rose jibber jabbering about like the different places they've gone. Yeah, okay, Jack necessarily isn't mentioned, but the way they're sort of, like you said, having that bit of a banter in a restaurant and they're all having a bit of a joke and a laugh.
yeah, they're quite comfortable with each other, aren't they?
Yeah, it gives you an idea that maybe there's been some intervening stuff in the middle, and then obviously the record scratch moment. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess so we get onto the Margaret Sladine side of it, which is, and at Badlands fantastic. I just think the writing sometimes, I think she flip-flops too much to the kind of point where you don't understand what her intentions were, but not in a good way. You know, like, oh, I don't really, it's like, oh, she's like, no, I have changed. And she gives us really good advice, like really good like, reasons. And then it cuts, and she's like, no, actually, Mabel plan was all along to trick you and thinking I was nice. And actually, I've got a Selena on there.
The ending is very quick, to be fair, but I think it's a good way of introducing the Heart of the TARDIS.
I don't like the TARDIS opening randomly. I don't like it.
Well, yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, she's all the time throughout the episode, she's trying to get away because she's trying to get away from what is inevitably her fate. That if she went back, that she'd be killed. So
Yeah.
she's never not trying to get away from that. It's just then, if anything, she's just trying to appeal to the Doctor's nature in a way to try and get out of it. Now, it's not, what she's saying isn't necessarily untrue, but her end point is always the same, and she's just got basically a backup that if the thing with the power plant never came to fruition, that there'd be some way that she could still get away by the same means.
Yeah, I like the fact that she began to get a favorite restaurant, which actually it's kind of a shame. It might not be a favorite restaurant. I really hope she did get one because we don't know how many long it's been. I did like the fact when they start laughing and stuff like that in the TARDIS. That's kind of a nice moment with all three of them there, and they have a little giggle. And then obviously the classic dinner and bondage line, and I'm like, oh,
I mean, it breaks the tension because at that part she does make the point that it's sort of like,
it's not funny.
Can none of you actually when she says about going back and you're going to be taking her back to die because of what's going to happen to her, can none of you look me in the eye? Because they all have to, and none of them, even the Doctor, really can't. He tries to make a couple of offhand comments, but none of them actually can because whether what they're doing is morally right, there's still a price to be paid by someone at the end of it, even if they're a villain. And you have to reconcile yourself with the repercussions of that. So that is, I think, is actually a well done scene. And then the joke about her ending up in a bin on the Isle of Dogs actually breaks the tension.
Yeah, that's a good scene. That's a good scene. I like that bit. But yeah. It's like I think it's like really solid. I just think it's sometimes for me I'm always just a bit. Are they trying to give her a redemption arc and they kind of go out of it and they flip flop a little bit? And I obviously it's a bit tricky. And I just don't like the resolution. I understand that to get to Bad Wolf, you have to show the Heart of the TARDIS so that it's less confusing for that episode. We don't have time for exposition, but it also just kind of feels like, well, all right, we've got to do it now. A lot, she gets pick up an egg, kind of gets half of her redemption. It's kind of like the best ending for both parties. I don't mind that as such, but I do just find it like, oh, you do realize that, you've entered the Heart of the TARDIS, and
I think what they've, I think it's a quick fix, but it's a quick fix whereby everyone on surface gets a happy ending. If you know what I mean, because they don't want to undercut the dark. They want it. They're not trying to get too dark before what's coming on down the pike. Yeah, okay. So at the time it would have seemed like a hokum ending, and even now it's a quick fix, but like obviously with hindsight and seeing the scope of it, I can understand it.
Yeah. I get it. And I also think, like I said, you do have to put the thing in place for the parting of the ways as well. So that you can do that faster because that episode is already chock-a-block and we don't have time. So it's cool. It just in this one it's like whatever. Again, yeah, it's fine. That's not why I watch this episode for. I don't really like the plot can do whatever it wants. It's just really fun to watch. I'm not sat there going, "Oh, this is really boring and too over the top." I'm just watching it and having a good time. So sure, she wants to become an egg. It's cool with me. You've won me over with the direction and the fun vibes and whatever. I ain't gonna complain. Yeah, have we covered every? Is there anything else we need to cover?
Let me check my notes.
Obviously, there's not much. There's not much like
Yeah.
depth to this one. It's what it is in the play. It's fun. It's fine.
Yeah, not
I
much.
think we got everything. Right, scores on the doors. I'm gonna go to you first, John. What
It's
are you
a
thinking?
solid 7 for me.
Ditto. Beef.
Like I said, it's doing a lot. This is doing a lot of setup and a lot of lead-ins to stuff. And nothing's given too much focus. So it's hard because I actually watched Aliens in London and World War III, and they were better than I remembered. Okay, yeah. Apart from farting, the Slovene actually did have menace and could have been quite more than just like what is now looked at as a hindsight as a comedy villain. And I think this is what actually made the Slovene more of a comedy villain than those two episodes.
Yeah.
There's some good performances in there, and I would say Annette Badland and Mickey's story is some of the better parts of it, in my opinion. But I'm going to give it a 6 because it's it's a middling one in this season for me. But you have to remember that this is like the first series of bringing it back from the wilderness, so you can't be too heavy. You've got to guide your audience gently by the hand and not make it too much.
Yeah.
So I have to appreciate it and take it for what it was at the time. But is it one that I go back and watch on a regular basis? Probably not.
Yeah.
I'm sick of Wales.
No, you can never be sick of Wales. Speaking of Wales,
just blow it up.
Speaking of Wales, oh, shut up.
Well,
You've got a Welsh name. He's actually all over.
No, it's I do enjoy this episode. It is quite fun. I kind of, I mean, everything's really been said. I would probably give this a 7 out of 10, only because it's not an episode I'd see myself revisiting again and again. But it's still a fun one.
It's like a sweet treat when you do a rewatch. You're like, I forget about this little gem that's in there.
Because that's the thing. If you were to ask me a few years ago, or like when I was younger, to rewatch this, I would have probably said no. But growing up, I've come to enjoy it a lot more.
Yeah.
But I would seriously say to you guys, if no one else, maybe the audience at home, if they can, just to go back and watch Aliens of London and World War III, and watch it where you get a Slovene pick up the Prime Minister's aide, pick him up and just throttle him to death and then just cast him aside on the floor. They weren't as comedy as your memory will think.
Yeah, we did get some lovely listener reviews as well. So this is from Sean at the Mondasian Psychic. But excellent episode, a nice character piece for 9 and Margaret Blaine. Thank God he put the short version, because I would have changed it anyway. And next up we got James H. or FitGeek_UK, the first New Who episode that actually felt like it was doing something totally different from old Who, a character piece with the story as the backdrop. The first RTD's Calm Before the Storm episodes, and the first use of magic concrete in the series. Love it. Yeah, all positive so far. Next up, we have a friend of the show, Macaulay. He put, as a 7-year-old, I found the story boring and always skipped it. Oshan basically said the same thing. As I got older, I found it one of the strongest stories in the series, and I enjoy it a lot more now I understand the plot. Yeah, it's basically you, Oshan. Literally the same as you. When you said when you were younger, didn't bother with it. And the last one is from
Same
Felix
thing.
Fraser. Now he's actually sent us a link from his website where you can go. And I've done a bit of research on the website. He's basically ranked a lot of the Doctor Who episodes and made his top 60. I'm just going to read the last paragraph from his review because it kind of sums up the episode. But you can totally check out his website. If you go onto the tweet, it's there. He's linked it, and this is a lot more depth than what we've got. If we maybe with a bit more time to polish the script, or if we pushed for an answer to if the Doctor really take Margaret back, the story would come higher in the list. But despite this, it remains firm favourite of mine. It's a laugh out loud funny, it's thought provoking, and in a daring way, it's that Doctor Who that's not been seen before or since. I unashamedly love it. I think it more deserves its place in the top 60 Doctor Who stories of all time. So there you go. He sort of gives a wrap up to his own website there as well about what his kind of website does. So he's put the top 60 episodes, and it's certainly in there. I don't know what number it is though, but it's in the top 60. So yeah, that's high praise for this. I don't know where I don't have the website up, so I'm not going to look it up. But I don't know where it would have placed in our big poll that we did years ago.
I always
But,
thought that people didn't really enjoy this episode.
I think that's what they thought as well, and then they watched it and went, actually, it's pretty good.
Oh.
But now it's that fun time. We get the randomizer out, people.
Oh no, it's classic.
You had a good time last time.
No, yeah, it
Let
was
this be
actually fun.
Let this be Underworld. Right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. The Rescue.
Yay.
Ooh, William Hartnell.
2 parts.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
it.
it's
Two 25-minute episodes. It's virtually like watching a New Who episode.
Yeah, you go. It's like watching one New Who episode, Oshad.
This will be my first Hartnell episode. No, I've seen the cancelled episodes, but which is the first one. But what was it? The
Rescue.
seed of- no,
Oh,
the first episode.
the Tribe of Gum. The
Tribe of Gum.
Unearthly Child.
The Tribe of No, I jokingly call it the Tribe of Gum just as a joke now.
Yeah, no. I knew it was an
It's an
Child.
Earthly
I just
Child,
don't
but the
know
Tribe of
if I was
Gum
allowed
for
to
the
say
vibes.
that anymore.
You might get sued.
Yeah.
But of course you can follow Oshan at oshan.gt. Follow Beef at the Beefhead. Follow John at johnboy_cook. And follow me at thomaspod or alexking_dom. And we'll see you guys next time. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe here on YouTube, or give us a follow on your chosen audio provider, because there's like 7 of them. So yeah, do what you wish. And we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Until then, bye.
Good night, God bless. Don't have nightmares. Do sleep well. Check your smoke alarms.